Hey, Mr. Starling, what kind of nonsense are you going to try to teach the kids today?
Today we're going to learn all about composite figures. That's right, composite figures. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is composite figures. Composite figures are basically just made up. That's right. Math stuff that's totally made up. Yes, today we're talking about something that's totally made up because composite figures are shapes that are made up of other shapes. So, let's have a look at what some might look like. All right, so these guys are all composite shapes. They are different shapes made up of other shapes we're already familiar with. But for now, let's stick with triangles, rectangles, squares, maybe even some parallelograms now and then. Look at this. So, this guy looks like, I don't know, like some sort of letter F that fell over. Maybe the letter F fell down and that's what we got. Maybe it's like a really square polar bear. Minecraft happens. So we've got this rectangle with an overbite. What does that even mean? I don't know, but it's a rectangle with a triangle slapped on the bottom of the thing. How do we find the area of this? Area of a composite figure is always the area of the parts added together. We can do that. If it's 14 across the top, 5 down the side, and then 9 across the straight part of the lower side, how long is the top side of the triangle? Well, 14 minus 9 gives us 5. All right, so the video got broken and I had to start over. Here we are. Now, I've thrown some numbers on here. You can't exactly just walk around throwing measurements on things. I made up the shapes first and forgot to name them with the measurements. Normally, you gotta find the measurements if they're not provided for you. For example, we found that the 5 was the length across the top of the triangle because 14 up at the top and 9 over there on the other side, 14 minus 9 is 5. Well, here we are. We've got 14, 5, 9, 5, and 4. What is the area of a triangle? The area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So which one's our base, which one's our height? We can agree easily that the height of the triangle is 4. What about the base? It's standing on a point. We're not going to worry about that. Think of it the other way up, because the base is always whatever side you measure the height from, and the height and the base are always at right angles to each other. The height of this triangle happens to be 4, the base 5. 1/2 base times height. Okay, so we're doing 1/2 5 times 4. I don't want to have half of 5, 2.5, times 4. Still going to be the same answer. Because I don't want to think about half of 5 times something else. Instead, let's do this in the other order. It'll still work out the same. Multiplication, when you're multiplying 3 numbers together, can be done in any order. 1/2 5 times 4 is the same as 5 times 4. 20 times 1/2. What is half of 20? 10. So we've got the area of the triangle. The area of the triangle is 10 square units. It's not 10 triangular units because it's a triangle. Nope, it's always square units because you're multiplying length and width. Wow, look at that. In fact, area of a rectangle is length times width. So, what's our length? What's our width? One of them's the 5, the other one's the 14. Doesn't matter which number you want in which order, it'll still come out the same. 14 across the top, 5 up the side. 14 times 5 is 70. Now, what do we do with this? We know that the rectangle's 70 and the triangle's 10. We put them together. They can be happy. Let's unite them. There we go. It's 80 units squared. You see, I've got the little word units with a number 2 up kind of like to the end of it a little higher. that means it's units squared. That is an acceptable way to write it. We could have inches squared, centimeters squared, whatever you like. We don't know our units on this. It's 80 units squared. Okay, so I know that my dog, fox, whatever that is, has ears that are 3 tall and 3 across. 3 times 3 is 9, but these are triangles. We have to find half of the base times the height. Okay, so there it is. 1/2 the base times the height of the triangles. 3 times 3 is 1/2 of 9, and half of 9 is 4.5. Did that on your calculator, did you? Why not? You can totally use a calculator for this stuff. Also, don't forget, you can use a formula sheet, so be sure and have the formulas for your triangle, your rectangle, parallelograms, squares, whatever you like. Formula sheet. Make it, use it. It's your friend. What about the area of the rest of this thing's head? Whoa! We're zooming in on this thing. Zooming in on a good final answer. We've got a height of 8, and it only tells us 4 over to the center. We will assume that it's an isosceles triangle, so that it's halfway from one end to the other. We'll then be able to say it's 8 all the way across the top. You see that? 4 on one side, 4 on the other. That means 8. And 1/2 of 8 times 8 is 1/2 4 times 32. Let's see that math. Bloop! There it is. So, hey, look, it's 1/2 the base times the height. 1/2 is 8 times 8, and 4 times 8 is 32, just like we said. So the funny thing has a height of 8, a width of 8, and 2 little ears that are each 4.5 square units. So, what is it all together? We've got 32 for the whole head, and then 4.5 plus 4.5 for each one of the ears. 4.5 plus 4.5 brings us back to 9. And 9 plus 32? 41. There it is, 41 square units. Not a bad thing. What about our house? Well, watch out, you might get what you're after. We'll try the house over here to give us a little more space. Well, I decided the house we had over there was kind of plain, so I made an exciting house with an asymmetrical roof and a chimney. Why did I do this to myself? So, let's look at how we could carve this up into separate shapes. We'll want to start with a rectangle across the bottom. We could cut it into a couple of rectangles or some squares, but that just sounds hard. Let's make it easy on ourselves. One rectangle, easy peasy. Now, what about this whole triangle on top business? We could cut that into 2 separate triangles, or we could just measure the height from the point down to there and use that measurement plus the distance across the bottom. Wait a minute. What about the chimney? Is that a rectangle? Kind of. Let's have a quick look at that. Do you see that the chimney has a triangle across the bottom? This is going to be a little more tricky. Okay, so we've got a tiny triangle at the bottom of the chimney, and then a nice rectangle. We've got a big rectangle and a big triangle. And we're going to measure the height up the center of the triangle instead of making it into 2 triangles. Although we could, because we'd end up just having to add the triangles back together later on. Let's see how this goes. Let's throw some numbers on it first. Okay, there it is. We've got it all measured out in feet. 32 across the bottom, 16 up the side. That makes it easy on us for multiplying 16 times 32 to find the area of the rectangle. 16 times 32 is 512. I didn't do that in my head. Calculators are nice. So, since calculators are nice, we have 16 times 32 is 512. What about the rest of this stuff? Area of a rectangle still length times width. We said that is 4 one way and 2 the other. 8. The roof has a height of 8 feet from our basic rectangle. 8 times, how long is the base of the rectangle? 32. But we'll have to multiply by 1/2 because it's a triangle. 1/2 times 32 times 8. What do we get? You can do this in your head, or you can just use a calculator. There it is, 128. 128 is the area for our roof. Roof. So what about that little triangle? It's like Dre, we can't forget about him. Little triangle has a height of 1 foot and is 2 foot across the top. Let's use the top as our base, 2, and our height, 1. 1/2 base times height. So there it is. 1/2 times 2 times 1. Half of 2 is 1, and 1 times 1 is still 1. So we need to take our 1 from our tiny triangle, our 8 from our chimney, the 512 from the big rectangle, and our 128 from our roof. What do we do with all those numbers? We add them up. Add them up. No diggity. 649. Did you get something different using your calculator? Because I didn't use your calculator. Wait, what's that 8 up there with the little tick mark on it? That little tick mark means feet. If it's got 1 tick on a measurement, it's feet. If it's got 2 ticks, that means inches. So, altogether, it's 649 square feet. And the thing about square feet is, if you've got square feet, it makes it hard to buy shoes. So, to settle it all down in, when you have a composite figure, it just means you have a shape made up of other shapes. And to find the area of that, you just find the area of the parts and add it back together.